I'm going to transform this into a peacock. It has a slit in the front, and it's very long, and it has a sheer covering over top of it. So we are going to turn this into a peacock dress. First thing I want to do is I want to cut off some of the front to make it shorter in the front and keep the length in the back. I angled the cut so that it would end up right at the side seams because I really want to keep the full length of the skirt in the back because I'm thinking of a peacock having very long tail feathers. So I want to keep the length in the back, and if the dress is worn with like some blue tights or green tights, it would look, you know, like bird legs. So I thought it would look cool for the front to be short. Now the sheer, I didn't want to cut the sheer, it's just so lovely. So I decided to just drape it up on the sides and sort of pin it. And it just adds a little extra design. Now the dress itself has a lining, so what I'm doing is folding the main fabric and the lining inside, so the raw edges are on the inside, and pinning it, and then I have to sew it by hand using a blind stitch to hide the stitching so the stitching doesn't show. I have to make sure that it's hanging straight. It really helps to have a mannequin so that I can see how the dress is going to hang. It never fails. Wherever I am, there are my animals, hanging around me, watching me, observing me, just being with me, no matter what task I'm doing. I'm going to cut out this design. What I did is I used my scrapbook paper, and I found a color that was close as I had to each color. Not exact, but first I cut out this shape here, the little eye, and then I just laid it on top of the light blue, and I cut out it, and then I laid it on the brown and cut it out, and then I laid it on the green and cut it out. So these are going to be my pattern, and they will go together like this. This is actually, I cut two at once, so the brown will fit right inside, and then the teal fit like that, and then the navy blue just like that. This is a position that you need to cut them into in order to get 3 out of a full sheet. So best thing to do is cut out this one first on this side, and then you know you can fit that there, and then the leftover piece you'll get the last part. So I'm going to cut these out. And I'm cutting 2 sheets at a time. I'm always looking for time-saving ways of doing things to try to do things quicker. I have lots to do all the time, so I like to find the fastest way to get something done. Okay. A good pair of scissors that'll cut. I usually have fabric scissors that are only used for fabric, because once it's used for something else, it gets ruined, such as paper. Paper with dull scissors. These happen to be an all-purpose pair of scissors that I can cut just about anything, and they are very durable. Currently, I cannot find my sewing scissors, so they have disappeared. I need to get me another pair. 12 out of 4 sheets of green, so the maximum amount that I'll be able to make are 12. It's best to start in the middle. No need to backstitch. When you come to the end, leave the needle down in, pick up the press foot, Pivot while the needle's in, then put your foot back in. Until you end up at the point. So it looks like the center of the feather. I'm using green thread. Looks like a leaf on this side. I just made a seam right down the middle that holds them all together. Because there actually is a seam. In a real peacock feather, there's a seam. It kind of stops in the middle. The reason that I started in the middle is so that I don't have to worry about things folding over. Now, to figure out where I want these to be, I guess I should pin it. I'm going to temporarily pin it. Okay, I'm going to make stems out of green satin ribbon, and for now I'm just going to pin so I can know how long I need to make them. I'll be able to measure and copy the length. Okay, so now we're going to add the satin ribbon onto the back side. I'm going to make sure I got the front facing. And I try to sew it in the same place where I already have a seam. And I do want to go over it twice, so pick up your press foot, pivot with the needle down inside, and sew it right in. And so each one has a piece of ribbon that's going to attach it. Now I ran out of green ribbon, so I'm going to alternate blue and green. Sometimes it's hard to tell, front side, back side. Okay, I'm making a bustle, which is what I'm going to attach everything to. So I have two pieces, and a seam here, here, and there. Actually, those are darts. So I'm taking in some of the slack at the waist, and it'll give fullness here. That way, I'm going to stuff it, so it'll be like a padded pillow on the back that I'll be able to sew everything to. So here's my bustle. I've sewn it right sides together. And now, before I turn it inside out, always clip curves. Just makes everything look so much better, and it takes away the puckers that you might have. Skip that area because that's where I left a hole to stuff it. So I don't want to clip that part. Now it's ready to stuff. And it doesn't have to be super full. It's just going to give a little bit of bulk. It'll help the tail feathers to stick out a little bit more. Now this peacock tail is going to hang down. It's not going to stand up. I just didn't feel like making one that stands up. And since the dress is really long, I thought it would be better for it to just hang down. Stuffing it with polyester fiberfill. I don't want to stuff it too tight. I want some fullness, but you don't need to be awfully tight. I want most of the fiberfill on that side. I don't want it too fat right here. Okay, I sewed a seam right along here because I wanted a flat surface that I'll be able to attach this to the dress. Not quite decided if I'm going to actually attach it to the dress because it has a zipper down the back. So I think I'm going to make this so that it can be taken off the dress or put back on. But with this, I'll be able to attach all of the tulle and the ribbon with the eyes on it. Okay, at the moment, I just have the bustle pinned on. My tulle is 2 yards long, and it's plenty long to go down. I could fold it in half almost. I might wind up cutting some off so I can dress up the top. I could put the tulle on in 2 separate layers. Like I could attach some at the bottom and then put another layer on. Let me think about this. I decided to cut off, put on a short layer first, and then I'll still have plenty of length to put another layer on. That'll give more fullness to the tail. The top layer will be attached higher up. There's still plenty of length. I think it'd be nice to have 2 layers. And I'm only pinning right now because I'm just trying to figure it out. Because I like to pin and plan everything out before I actually make anything permanent. That way, if I don't like what I'm going to do, I can make changes to it and improve it. This just gives me a better idea what it's going to look like. A nice full tail. So when these things are hanging, okay, I like that. It's nice and full. And I still have some to cut off, so that means I'll be able to use some to accent the front of the dress. So now that I know how I want it all to go together, it's time to actually put it together. They were just pinned with large pins just to kind of give me a feel of what it's going to look like. Now I need to be a little more specific in how I pin it. And so I'm like gathering the tulle and pinning it with pins close together, going all the way around. This is the bottom layer of the bustle. I'm using 3 different color tulle. I have 2 different shades of blue, so I decided to put those on either side and then put the green in the middle. And there is no easy, quick way of doing this. It may seem tedious, and I have to sew it by hand. There's no way to do it with a machine. So some things only a needle and thread will do the job. Okay, so this is what it looks like with the eyes attached. You have a full rounded bustle on the back of the dress. It'll look better in the daytime. Right now it's kind of dark, so the colors are probably not very true. And I got this cute little trim that I could use to finish it off. To prevent the eyes from flopping around when the dress is being worn, I decided it would be a good idea to tack them down so that they'll stay in their place and then they won't flap around. And again, using a needle and thread is the only choice to do this, but it doesn't take very long. Now that the skirt is done, it's time to do something with the body so that it doesn't look like a completely different design up top. I need to somehow tie it all together. So I decided to use the waistband as a little trim around the bodies, around the front of it and the sleevelets. And I need to just add some of the peacock fluff and so I experiment and I pin it together to see what it's going to look like and just kind of play with it until I find something that would kind of tie the whole outfit together so the bottom doesn't look like one thing and the top look like something else. So you want it to look like a one complete costume. So a little pinning here and there as I experiment. I use all 3 color tool just like I did on the skirt. I want to use a little gathering of the 3 colors of tulle behind the miniature little eyes that I cut out from my leftover pieces. Well, that's progress, but it still needs something more. So I try to do something with some little short sleeves, give it a little more a peacock feathery appearance using the same 3 color tool. And I'm pinning it because I'm just trying to figure it out right now. So now that I've figured out my plan, I cut 3 pieces of the tulle, 15 inch by 7 inch, one of each of the colors. And I have the strip that's going to go underneath the sleevelet that's 10 inches long. I'm going to attach the tulle to that. I'll put it in the same order, blue, green, blue, just like I did with the skirt because I want to repeat the pattern. So we have to gather and pin. And then when I stitch it, I will stitch 2 rows of stitching so that the tulle lays flat. Small square, you fold it like in quarters, and so you have the point. And I did this with the 3 colors because I wanted to add all 3 colors, and there's no other way to do this except with a needle and thread. And the eyes are the same as I did these bit large ones, I just did them smaller. And we just sew it together with a needle and thread, and that's going to be the little accents on the top. So we're repeating the colors from the bottom of the dress to the top, which will help to tie it all together. The small eyelets are sewn on with a needle and thread. Again, there's no other choice, but you have to use a needle and thread to get them on. So here it is, the finished product. I think I did a good job of tying it all together. We got some peacock fluff and the colors repeated from the skirt onto the bodies. And the blue trim just kind of helped. It was this nice soft blue that just kind of helped tie it all together. And I used a needle and thread to tack the sheer drapery on the sides. And there's a button attached to the side, which is where the bustle is going to be buttoned on. So the dress can be put on by itself, and then the bustle could be put on or taken off. And this way it doesn't interfere with the zipper that runs down the very center back of the dress. So otherwise it would be really hard to get in and out of it. So it's a detachable bustle. Everything is attached to the bustle. That's the whole point of a bustle. It's got the tulle, it's got the eyes, and everything's going to hold its position because it's all tacked nicely. And so it's not too hard to get into. So there's the finished product. You have a nice full bustle and a delicate top, short front, long back. And so we have a peacock dress. And a peacock mask to touch it off.